Motorcycle chases don't last long. They start fast, they get dangerous even faster, and officers have only seconds to stop them. Today, we're looking at the moments where they manage to end it just in time. Number 8. The door moment. A sport bike was sliding through stopped traffic like it did every day, hopping between lanes without slowing down. Officers knew the second they pushed harder, he'd vanish. Because sometimes the smallest opening is the most dangerous one. As the bike slipped through traffic, an unmarked unit was already reading the move. The passenger door came open just a little, not thrown wide, but just enough to be there. The rider caught it a moment too late. There was a light clip, the bike lost its control, and that was it. Balance gone, and the chase was over. Nothing dramatic happened, no big impact or no escalation. 1 second, there was space, the next second, there wasn't. That's why this move works. Riders lock onto gaps and commit. They don't expect that gap to disappear right when they're counting on it. Number 7. The red light freeze. A rider was flying through downtown, running lights and trusting that everyone else would slow down for him. He figured traffic would do the hard thinking, so he didn't have to. But what happens when traffic doesn't move the way you expect? At the next big intersection, the cops didn't rush him. No sirens, no chasing. All they did was just hold the traffic. The rider came in fast, expecting cars to move like they always had before, but this time, nothing did. No gap, no lane, no exit. He grabbed the brakes too hard, but lost his control and dumped the bike right there in the intersection. Officers say this works because you don't need to chase a fast rider. You just let their own speed do the work. Number 6. The rolling roadblock snap. Ever seen a rider think he can thread the needle through traffic? Yeah, this one ended differently. A patrol unit was trailing a sport bike that kept passing through cars like it couldn't stay in one lane and kept swerving around. The officer knew chasing would only make it worse, so instead, he set up a moving wall. But here's the thing about blocking a motorcycle at speed. Sometimes, the biker chooses the dumbest option. The officer gently eased his SUV into the rider's only escape path, a slow, smooth squeeze that looked almost polite. The rider tried to slip past anyway and hit the rear bumper. 1 wobble, 2 wobbles, and he went down. It wasn't speed or the force, it was the timing. Officers say moves like this work because most fleeing bikers rely on overconfidence, not strategy. You take away the space, and suddenly they run out of ideas real fast. Number 5. The brake tap that ends everything. This one's one of those tricks that sounds dumb, but works way better than anyone expects. A cruiser was behind a motorcycle that kept trying to bait the officer by speeding up, slowing down, and weaving in and out of traffic. It was a classic ego chase. The officer played along until he didn't. Because when someone's glued to your bumper at 80 miles per hour, one tiny move changes everything. The cop tapped the brakes, just a light touch, and it was enough to throw the rider off completely. The guy panicked, swerved way too hard, and the bike instantly started to lose balance. A small wobble turned into a full slide, and that was the end of the chase. The best part is, the officer didn't pull off anything crazy. No cutting across lanes, no big move. He simply let the rider get himself into trouble. A tiny brake tap, and the whole chase fell apart on its own. Number 4. The helicopter pin. A rider on a leader bike, tearing through back roads, thinking he was too fast for ground units, but here's what he didn't know. He wasn't just racing the patrol cars anymore, he was racing the sky. A helicopter locked onto him, and from that moment, every move he made was basically noted and communicated. He'd lean left, speed up, slow down, and the pilot was already calling it in before the bike even settled. Down on the ground, nobody was chasing. Units just waited for the right moment because once the bird has eyes on you, there's no need for a high-speed mess. Then the rider made the mistake that ends most of these chases. He shot himself straight into a tight 2-lane with nowhere to escape. He didn't even look ahead, he just went for it. A cruiser came across the road, not even fast, just calmly, closing the lane. The biker grabbed the brakes too hard, the back wheel kicked out, and the whole bike slipped out from under him. He thought he'd lost everyone miles ago. But the truth? He was done the moment that helicopter locked on. Up until now, Everything looked pretty normal, smart moves, good timing, and clean takedowns. But the next few breaks that pattern completely. They end so fast and in such random ways that the whole chase finishes before anyone expects it. Number 3. The perfect pincer. This chase looked like a guaranteed runaway, a straight road, a fast bike, and one pursuing unit. Except that the officer wasn't chasing to grab the rider, he was just steering him into a trap. Because when you can't catch a rider, you make the space around them smaller. The biker thought he finally had some free space, open road, no cars, no sirens right behind him. But what he didn't see was the setup waiting up ahead. 2 patrol units were in blind spots on both sides of the road, just waiting for the signal. The second the rider committed to the straight line, and both units rolled out together, just like elevator doors sliding shut. He tried to pick a gap that wasn't really a gap and misread the space by a mile, hit a bumper, bounced once, and suddenly he fell off the bike and slid. Officers nicknamed this move the invisible trap for a reason. You don't beat a motorcycle with speed. You beat the rider with a decision they don't have time to rethink. Number 2. The off-ramp fake out. A fleeing rider was blasting down the freeway, convinced he could outrun any unit. He kept looking back, which was a classic mistake, so he didn't see the setup. Because the second a biker looks back, they stop paying attention to what's actually happening in front of them. The officer behind him faked a lane change toward the exit, making the rider think he had an opening. Rider commits and goes right, only to find a waiting unit already blocking the ramp. He hit the brakes too hard, lost traction, and slid gently into the curb. It was not a dramatic crash or a high-speed takedown. It was just the rider outsmarting himself in record time. Motor officers say this one works because fleeing bikers rely on guessing, not thinking. Give them a wrong guess, they take it every time. Number 1. The double down. The gold standard of fast motorcycle stops. A rider blew through a red light, doing nearly triple the limit, and officers knew they needed something more. Now you might think, stopping a bike instantly would be impossible. Well, it started like any other chase, fast, messy, and nobody really in control. But then the officer switched tactics. No sirens blaring up behind him, no aggressive push, just quiet pressure building on both sides. One officer eased off the throttle just enough to bait the rider into making a move. He swung out to pass, fully committed, thinking he'd slip right through. But a few hundred feet ahead, the second officer had been waiting. The biker saw the trap half a second too late. He grabbed the brakes hard, the rear wheel popped up, the whole bike went light and shaky, and then it just slid out from underneath him. It was instinct, timing, and experience, all landing in the same second. And that's why officers call it the double down, 2 moves and 1 clean shutdown. Over before the rider even knows what happened. So there you have it, 6 chase stoppers that ended faster than most people can blink. If you had to see one live, which one would you pick? Drop your choice below, and if you like this breakdown, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. Until next time.